Alright, so today we're going to move into Chapter 3 now. So we've just finished up Chapter 2. Now we're moving into Chapter 3, which is compute with multi-digit numbers, basically. So we're going to be working with, so this is where it begins, is 173. That's Chapter 3. And then on page 177 is the first lesson here. So we're going to add and subtract decimals in this first one. Okay, so starting in the real world link, it says one event in the competitive swimming is the women's 100-meter butterfly. The table shows the times of different swimmers at a recent Olympics. So we have Elizabeth Trickett that finished hers in 56.73. We have Christine Magnuson. We don't know what time she finished in, and that's what we're going to find here in a minute. And Gabriela Silva finished in 58.1 seconds. So if you look down here, it says it took Christine Magnuson 37 hundredths of a second longer to finish than Elizabeth Trickett. What was Magnuson's time in seconds? So we have to add these up. So we get 10, get 11, 7, and 57.1. Okay, number 2 says, at a high school meet, a swimmer swam the women's 100-meter butterfly in 72.34 seconds. How many seconds faster did Gabriela Silva swim her race? So now we have to subtract. So 4 minus 0 is 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. Can't do that, so we got to borrow. So 12 minus 8 is 4, and then 1. So she swam her race 14.24 seconds faster. Okay, so we're just adding and subtracting there, guys. So on the next page, we're going to start with adding decimals. So to add decimals, you line up the decimal points. So a little bit different than multiplication. Multiplication, the decimal point didn't matter until the answer, whereas when you're adding and subtracting, you have to line up the decimal points. And then you just add the digits in the same place value position. So line up the decimal points and then go from there. That should always be your first step. So like example number 1 here. Okay, we have find the sum. Sum means addition. It's the answer to an addition problem. So you're adding these two numbers. So I'm going to start with 23.1 on top. Okay, now 5.8. It doesn't go 5.8 right there. You have to line up the decimal points. Okay, the decimal points are lined up, so we can automatically just bring that down to our answer. Now, 1 plus 8, 9. 3 plus 5, 8. And then just your 2. So 28.9, 28 and 9/10. That's how you add those up. So you cannot forget to line up the decimals. That is the one thing you have to make sure you're doing. That is the one rule when you're adding decimals. So do not forget to do that. Okay, so now we're going to do 29.6 plus 14.7. They've already lined up the decimals for you. I already put the decimal down in the answer. So now we just add them. So 6 plus 7 would be 13. 9 plus 4 is 13, plus 1, 14. And then 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4. So it is 44.3. 44 and 3/10. Okay, don't worry about doing the estimation. We're not going to worry about that part. Okay, I'm more worried about you guys adding them up and subtracting them the correct way. Okay, so make sure you are lining up the decimals. So let's go a couple pages over, and let's do number 1 on page 181. So 181. We're going to do number 1 for right now. So I'm going to line up the decimals. It does not matter which one goes on top. Okay. It could be the 7.2, it could have been the 9.5. It's still going to mean the same answer as long as you line up the decimals. So now we add these, so we get 2 plus 5 is 7. I'm going to bring down my decimal, and then 7 plus 9 is 16. So 16.7, 16 and 7/10. Alright, now number 2. Okay, we have 1.34, 1 and 34 hundredths, plus 2. Okay, the problem here is this 2 doesn't have a decimal, but when it doesn't have a decimal, that means it's a whole number. So this whole number has a decimal after it. So in reality, it goes right here in front of that decimal there. So then you can put a decimal and then just put zeros there to line up every number. So when you have a whole number like this, go ahead and just add them up.
classroom aides who...
So 4 plus 0 is 4. 3 plus 0 is 3. Bring down your decimal point, and then 1 plus 2 is 3. So your answer is 3 34/100ths. So whenever there's a whole number, always just add a decimal after it, and if you need to, annex some zeros. That's fine, and that's how you do that, and then you just add it up. Now, number 3, we have 54 and a half plus 48, and we gotta line up the decimals. Excuse me. And then, but we have a problem here. We don't have anything there. It's blank because there's not enough digits, so you can add a 0. You annex a 0 there. Whenever there's a blank space, just put a 0. That's the best thing to do. So, now we just add it up. 0 plus 1, 1. 5 plus 5, 10. I'm going to bring down my decimal. And then 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 8 is 13. And then you do 1 plus 5 plus 4, that's 10. So you get 103 1/100ths. Okay, so that's how you add with decimals. You always, your first step is always line up the decimal points and then add the numbers together. So let's go back. I want you guys to pause the video, and I want you guys to go back to page 178, and do A, B, and C. So pause the video, and then complete A, B, and C, and then come back, and we're going to do them together. Okay, now that you're back, we're going to go and do letter A together. So 54.7 plus 21.4. So I lined up my decimals, and now I can add them. So 7 plus 4, I'm not adding 7 plus 1, those aren't lined up. It's 7 plus 4, which is 11. 1 plus 4 plus 1, forgot my decimal, bring it down. That would be 6. And then 5 plus 2 is 7. So letter A is 76.1. 76 1/10. Alright, letter B. 14.2 plus 23.5. So I line my decimal points up. Now I can add the same numbers in the same position. So 2 plus 5, 7. Bring down my decimal. 4 plus 3, 7. 1 plus 2, 3. So that would be 37 7/10. So then, letter C, we have 17.3 plus 33.5. So once again, my first step was to line up the decimals, and then I have to add the place value number, this digits in the same place value. So 3 and 5, 8. Bring down my decimal. 7 plus 3, 10. And that would be 5. So 50.8. Okay, so that's how you add with decimals. Always make sure you line up the decimal points, and then you just add the numbers. Now we're going to switch gears and go to subtraction. Same rules apply here. You still have to line up the decimal, and then you just subtract. You might have to annex zeros like I've talked about in the past, but not always. So like example number 3 here. Okay, so 5.774 minus 2.371. They said find the difference. Difference means the answer to a subtraction problem. So now I know I'm subtracting. Okay, so I lined up my decimal points. I don't have to add any zeros because I have a number for every position. So 4 minus 1, that would be 3. 7 minus 7, 0. 7 minus 3, 4. Bring down my decimal point. 5 minus 2, 3. 3 and 403 thousandths. 3.403. Okay? Alright, so now 6 minus 4.78. Alright, so 6 does not have a decimal after it because it's a whole number. You don't have to put it there. But know that every whole number has a decimal after it. Now I can line those points up. So 4.78 goes below it. I line them up, but we have a problem here. I have a couple blank spaces. So this is what I'm talking about with adding zeros. So 6.00. It's still the number 6, but we had to annex some zeros to actually subtract this. Now, 0 minus 8, you can't actually do. So I have to borrow from all the way over here. That becomes 10. Well, we got to borrow again, so that becomes 9. So now, 10 minus 8, 2. 9 minus 7, 2. Bring down my decimal point. 5 minus 4, 1. So 1 and 22 hundredths, 1.22. Okay, now, this one here. We have 23 minus 4 and 216 thousandths, 4.216. Okay, so once again, 23 is a whole number. So 23 goes in front of your decimal. Okay, we're going to have to annex zeros here because we have to have enough numbers to cover the other positions. So we have 4.216, and now we can subtract. But once again, 0 minus 6 I can't do. So I have to borrow from all the way over there. That becomes 2. This becomes 9. That becomes 9. And this becomes 10. So 10 minus 6, 4. 9 minus 1, 8. 9 minus 2, 7. Okay, we can't do that, so I got to borrow again. So 12 minus 4 is 8. And then just bring down your 1. So your answer is 18.784. All right, so let's jump over a couple pages. Page 181. We're going to do some more of these. So number 4. Okay, it says 5.6 minus 3.5. So 5.6, 3.5. Always remember to line up your decimal points. That's what you have to do. We did it in addition. We got to do it for subtraction. So now I can subtract 6 minus 5, 1. Bring down my decimal. 5 minus 3, 2. So 2.1 is your answer. Okay, number 5. All right, we have 97. Okay, that's a whole number, so I know I can add a decimal after it. So then 16.98 goes underneath it. Okay, well, I lined up the decimal, but we have blank spots here. So we have to annex zeros. Now we can subtract. So I'll have to borrow from over here. That becomes 6. That's 10 now, but I actually got to borrow again, so it becomes 9. So now we're good. We can subtract now. So 10 minus 8, 2. 9 minus 9, 0. Bring down my decimal. 6 minus 6, 0. 9 minus 1, 8. So 80.02. So now, number 6, sorry, we have 58.67. Once again, line up the decimals. So 28.72. So we subtract, and now I get 7 minus 2, that's 5. Okay, I can't do 6 minus 7, so I have to borrow. So that becomes 7 over here, and this becomes 16. So that's 9. Bring down my decimal. Well, 7 minus 8 I can't do, so I'm going to borrow again. Now, 17 minus 8, that would be 9, and 4 minus 2, 2. 29.95. Okay, so now I want you guys to go back to page 179, and I want you guys to do D, E, and F. So you're subtracting it and you're finding the difference. So the answer to a subtraction problem. Okay, so pause the video, work these out, and then come back, and I'm going to go through them with you. Okay, now that you're back, let's go ahead and work these out. So 9.543 minus 3.671. Line my decimals up, now I can subtract. So 3 minus 1, 2. 4 minus 7 can't do, so I got to borrow. So that would be 14 minus 7, 7. Can't do that, so I got to borrow again. 14 minus 6, 8. Bring down my decimal point to my answer. And then 8 minus 3 is 5. So the first one is 5.872. 5 and 872 thousandths. Okay, now letter E, we're talking about money. So $50.62 minus $39.81. So I line my decimal points up. Now I can subtract 2 minus 1, 1. Can't do that one, so I got to come all the way over to 5 to borrow. That becomes 10. Well, I got to borrow again, so that becomes 9 and 16. So 16 minus 8 is 8. Bring down my decimal. 9 minus 9, 0. 4 minus 3, 1. So it's $10.81. Don't forget to label because we are talking about money. If you don't label, it's going to be half wrong. You have to label correctly. Since they talked about money this time, you got to label it. All right, letter F. Now we have 14 minus 9 and 9/100. Okay, so 14 is a whole number. So like I always said, I can always add a decimal after it. Or if I'm lining the decimal points up, it goes 9 below the 4, 0, 9. Well, we have 2 empty spots. So once again, annex zeros. Add some zeros there. So I got to borrow again. That becomes 10 minus 9, that's 1. 9 minus 0, 9. Bring down my decimal. Can't do that one, so I got to borrow again. 13 minus 9, 4. Nothing else? So your answer is 4.91. Okay? So that's how those work. Your first step is to always line up the decimal and go from there. Alright, so on the last page, on page 180, okay, we're going to talk about a story problem. It does not change anything, you just have to pay attention to what you're doing, either addition or subtraction. So Reagan is creating a video. The first video clip was 22.36 minutes long. The second video clip was 17.03 minutes long. What is the total length of the video? If they're trying to find the total, that means you're adding. So you're going to add those two numbers up, line the decimals up, and you get 39.39 minutes long. So let's do one like that. So down at over on page 181. I'm going to stick with 181. So number 7 here. It says the table shows the top 3 finishers in barrel racing. What is the time difference between Nicholas and Sancho? So Nicholas is here, here's Sancho. Okay, difference means we are subtracting. So in this case, we're subtracting them. So I'm going to take Sancho first because his is the bigger number, 16.40, and I'm going to subtract 14.61 away from it. Or 67, sorry. So I subtract, well, I can't actually do that. I line my decimal points up, so I got to borrow. So 10 minus 7, 3. Can't do that, so I got to borrow again. 13 minus 6, that would be 7. Bring my decimal down. 5 minus 4 is 1, and then 1 minus 1 is 0. Don't even have to put it. So the difference is 1.73 seconds. Since it's a real-life problem, you got to label. Okay, this is a real-world problem, so you have to put the label. It's talking about seconds. Okay, so that's how you just have to decide difference or sum. It just depends. So like this one, in 2 months, Mia spent a total of $305.43 on groceries. She spent $213.20 in the first month. How much did she spend in the second month? Okay, since we're trying to figure out what the other one was, we have to subtract again. So number 8 is subtraction. Okay, so that's how those work. You just have to pay attention to what the situation is. Okay, there will be an IXL with us, so pay attention after the video and look at Google Classroom and go over to IXL and work on that. So this is Chapter 3, Lesson 1.